Welcome to Book Fairies First Look. I'm your host, Micki Bare. This month, we welcome author Dorothy H. Price, whose first chapter book series entitled JALEN'S Big City Life was published on August 1st, 2022 by Capstone Publishing. In 2019, Dorothy was the recipient of the We Need Diverse Books Mentorship Program and author of 2 stories in Teaching Tolerance's Teaching Hard History series. Her first picture book, Nana's Favorite Things, was published by iFrig Publishing in 2016. Dorothy is also a longtime member of the SCBWI Carolinas. As a children's author, Dorothy's goal is to write and create positive, authentic, outside-the-box stories for children and young adults that unlock the subconscious dreams within, yearning to be fulfilled. Welcome, Dorothy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. We're so excited about these releases. So let me give a quick overview about the book we're going to talk about today. JALEN'S Big City Life follows 7-year-old Jalen Corey Pierce's life in the big city. Between adventures with his 2 best friends, Amir and Vicky, and new experiences with his family, JC is always learning new things and exploring city life. JALEN'S Big City Life centers on realistic adventures in a city setting and teaches important lessons, including kindness, responsibility, sharing, and respect, all excellent themes for young readers. So my first question is a favorite one as far as what I love to ask authors. How long have you been writing, Dorothy?
So I've been writing for a pretty long time. 11. I started writing right around 11. I wrote poems, short stories, songs, raps. I did everything. I was really just intrigued by words. I just something caught a hold of me when I turned 11. My sister actually gave me a journal for my 11th birthday, and I think that's really what sparked that initial interest because I had this journal and I didn't know really what to do with it. And I just started jotting some things down, and I still have that journal.
Nice. Oh, wow. Yeah, I think the journal is a big piece of it too. My grandmother gave me one when I was little, and I think that's something that writers share as far as, kind of how we were inspired in writing. How did this particular chapter book series come to be?
So this was actually kind of a roundabout way. It actually started from a picture book I submitted to Capstone, to one of the editors who I ended up actually working with. And that picture book was not picked up. They thought it was a good storyline, but it was similar to some other stories they had, really similar to a story they were looking to create, and which became Jalen's Big City Life. And so because there were so many similarities between the city setting and the main character, they gave me the option to create this series basically. So I had the option to come up with the storyline, come up with all of the images, the setting, pretty much from scratch. So it was almost like it was a bummer to not get the picture book, but it opened up the door to 4 chapter books, which I always wanted to write. I was always interested in writing chapter books as well. So I absolutely said yes.
Wow, that is a fantastic story. So where did the inspiration then, because you said you had to start kind of from scratch, where was the inspiration for JALEN'S Big City Life? Where did that come from?
So I had, growing up, I moved around. I was born in New Jersey, and I lived in New Jersey until I was 14. And so living in northern New Jersey, my family, my dad's family, and even some of my mom's family lived in New York City. So I traveled to New York City to see my grandmother, my aunt, my cousin, and just different family members probably once a week. And so they lived in an apartment building. I had so many memories going to visit them, having Sunday dinner, playing with my cousins. And so when the opportunity for Jalen's Big City Life came aboard, I went back to that memory, all of those memories of growing up and just visiting all of my family and my relatives. And that there's one particular apartment building that I have a lot of memories from. And that's where my grandmother lived, and my aunt and my cousin. And we had so many good times in that apartment, and so many memories. And so I just immediately went back to that time in my childhood and imagined what it would be like for Jalen. You know, he moved from a small town to a big city, and it's new experiences. It's kind of daunting, and it's all new. And so I just immediately went back to that time in my life, and it was really fun to actually write this series.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Well, why, in your opinion, is this story important for young readers?
So going back to the fact that, I lived in New Jersey until I was 14, and then I did move to New York as well, and lived in a few places in New York. And as a kid, you really know only what you know. So if you live in a city, that's your world. If you live in the suburbs, that's what you know. If you live in a rural town, that's what you know. And so this book allows children who might not live in a big city or place with apartments and lots of hustle and bustle. It just allows them to see life from a different perspective. And, thinking about a setting I was in where someone asked, describe your hometown. And that's not really easy for everyone if you've moved around. For me, I always talk about the place I lived the longest, which was Paterson, New Jersey. That to me is probably my hometown. That's the location that I always reference. But if you do live in a lot of different places growing up, sometimes that's hard to really identify that, one particular place that you call your home. So, this series just opens up the opportunity for children to look at living all types of ways. And so if a child has never experienced city life, they definitely get to see all of the different nuances of living in a city, and what that's like through Jalen's experience, and also with Amir and Vicky.
And that can really open up, the children's perspectives, especially here in some rural places like in North Carolina, for instance. That would be such a interesting and new way to kind of look at things for children here. So yeah, that I just love that. So what are you working on next?
So I can officially say, even though it hasn't been announced like on anything publicly or social media, but I have been working on the next 4 books in the Jalen series.
Excellent.
So yeah, that's what I've been working on. Once the first series ended, there was kind of a period, and then they came back this spring to ask if I would be interested in doing 4 more. So the next 4 are just even bigger. The storylines are just even more. They're a little bit more. So I'm having experiencing Jalen, and what he's going to be doing in these next 4 series, in these next 4 books, and also Vicky and Amir. There's his baby sister Maya. She's
Oh,
going to be a
nice.
little bit more in this next 4, as well as Nana and Pop Pop and Mom and Dad.
Oh, that sounds so fun. So as families, as librarians and educators and parents, as they get wrapped up in these stories, how can they keep up with what you're doing and stay engaged with you as an author? What are your social media handles?
Twitter is my favorite. I will always go to Twitter usually first as my favorite social media. I've been on Twitter since I think 2009, when I first, maybe 2008 when I first started
Nice.
writing children's books. So Twitter is always my favorite platform, but Instagram is also a favorite of mine too. That's become really popular. So between Twitter and Instagram, you can usually find me. TikTok, I haven't broken into TikTok. It's on my to-do list. I feel like it's so much time. I need like a crash course in TikTok. So for now, I'm going to stick to Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure folks will reach out and see you on there, and we'll also put those in the end slide too, so folks can write those down. But thank you so much for telling us and giving us a little glimpse of these new books. And I'm so excited that there's going to be that this is going to continue, and we'll have some more to add to those. Maybe we'll be talking to you next year with that. So that's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Yeah, I'm
Thank
looking forward to it. Thank you.
us too. Thank you so much.